And sir, what about the fact that Iran has the capability of hitting back? What happens there, sir? Because they have got ballistic missiles.
This is an area which I think is of concern to Israel as well as to the US.
Okay.
And that is why that aircraft carrier has been placed there, because the aircraft carrier gives an air defense shield to Israel. Because they would have actually war gamed it earlier also, that in the case of a strike by Israel, there is going to be a retaliation from Iran, and Israel, with its own resources, will not be able to protect itself. So I think positioning of that aircraft carrier, I think, is part of that strategy there, because it gives an entire air shield to Israel. And in case of eventuality of these missiles coming on Israel, to a large extent, it would get negated, by this kind of a new arrangement which has been put into place.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, sir. But you stay with me. Let me take across my. Just stay with me. Let me take across my viewers of the basic details that are emerging, and the basic details that are emerging are one, that it's a joint military operation that is taking place. New York Times is reporting that the United States and Israel attack Iran on Saturday, according to the American and Israeli officials. Multiple explosions. Obviously, the bombing took place at multiple points. Secondly, Israeli government has suspended civilian flights to and from the country in the wake of attack on Iran. Israeli airport authority has given this message. Air raid sirens are sounding across Israel, warning residents of potential impending attack. Thick smoke is rising from the district in Tehran where the supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei normally resides, according to Iranian newspaper Shargh. Tehran residents also reported seeing smoke from the district where the presidential palace and National Security Council is also located. These attacks have impacted the entire Tehran. Millions of people were at work. Schools, children were in their schools. So there is panic and chaos in the city of Tehran. Now, this is what the New York Times is reporting. Now, let me tell you what the Guardian, another newspaper, is reporting. Because this is not going to stop so easily. It's a war which will have a very big impact. The Guardian says that Israel launches attack on Iran. It says that Israel has declared a state of emergency in anticipation of retaliatory strike. And it goes on to say that explosions were heard in central Tehran with apparent strike near the office of Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. The bombs were delivered where Ayatollah Ali Khamenei was. This attack has come hours after United States President Donald Trump said he was not happy with the latest negotiation with Iran over its nuclear program. US has also built up a massive presence in the region in recent weeks, including 2 aircraft carriers. Now, 1 aircraft carrier has been stationed in Israel. Now, that aircraft carrier, if there is an attack on Tel Aviv, if there is an attack in Jerusalem, that aircraft carrier, $13 billion Gerald Ford aircraft carrier will come into operation. So the US has built up a massive presence in the region. Israeli military spokesman said that the country had launched a preemptive strike against Iran to remove threats to Israeli state. Now, what is this preemptive strike? Who are these people who are being attacked by the Israeli leadership? What is the political objective of the attack? We don't know that. If we look at the genesis even of the war in Iraq, the Americans said that they have weapons of mass destruction, but they did not have weapons of mass destruction. On this issue, I continue to be joined by General Kochar and Professor Swaran Singh. Thank you so much, both of you. My question to Professor Swaran Singh is, sir, when they went after Iraq, they said they had weapons of mass destruction. Let me be the devil's advocate here. Let me just recall certain history. Now, they are saying that certain critical timelines have been passed and Iran wants to have very close to having a nuclear bomb. So, what is happening?
I think definitely what it means is that the negotiations in Geneva has not delivered what President Trump was expecting. And as I mentioned before on your program, the red lines that United States used to have in terms of simply focusing on Iran not having a nuclear weapon have since expanded to even cover their long range missiles, talk about all the enriched uranium stockpiles to be removed from Iran, and so on. So apparently, Iran has not been able to come up to the expectations of President Trump in this case. And therefore, now what is being described by Israelis is a preemptive strike. Now, what that means, because this is not this time targeting specifically nuclear installations. We understand central Tehran has been the target this time, which apparently perhaps one can imagine focuses on the political leadership and the supreme leader himself maybe. But Iran, of course, has been mentioning that they are prepared and they will take care. And security of supreme leader is, unquestionable, and that's a top priority for them. But in this case, Iran has not yet, as I understand, responded. And even last time in June last year, they did take their time before deciding when to start their retaliation. And how Iran is going to retaliate this time is also something that could trigger speculations, because Iran has been constantly saying that it is going to be a kind of regional war, and all American presence in the region would be the target. Now, what that means, and whether some of the new contracts signed by Iran in terms of obtaining missiles and other equipment, ammunitions from Russia and China, whether any of them has even arrived, is not very clear as of now. But Iran definitely has a whole stockpile of its own missile programs, and of course has its proxies in the region. So it's not good news. I think it's going to be increasingly pushing countries into brinkmanship on both sides, and definitely end of nuclear negotiations very clearly once a direct hit has happened on the ground. I hope United States will showcase some restraint and will not join Israel in this case, because that is going to only
Professor
increase.
Swaran Singh, Reuters is reporting that US military is part of this action. Earlier I was speaking with Ambassador Sikri. I just called her, then, ma'am, can you be part of my program? She was saying that right now the Israelis have, maybe, Israel wanted to pressurize America to get in. Now the Reuters reports that Americans are also part of it.
Now, whether that Kartikya part of it means that they are sort of behind in terms of supporting, in terms of auxiliary targeting and so on, surveillance, etc., or whether there is a direct hit from one of these aircraft carriers that US has deployed there, or destroyers. I think that is important to understand, whether direct hit from United States has happened so far, or is it so far only a direct hit from Israel? Of course, in certain ways, it could be supported by United
You just
States.
stay with me, because you brought my attention back to an issue on an article which I read yesterday. General Kocher, I think one of the websites, I do not recall it, was arguing the reason why Gerald Ford has been anchored in one of the ports of Israel is that you cannot attack big cities of Israel without getting Ford into the action. Because Ford and its signature armada around it means that it will not only protect Israel, but it will also become a target if you try hitting Tel Aviv. Can you shed some light? Because it says it's away from Iran, unlike a USS Abraham Lincoln, which is, I think, just 20 to 40 nautical miles away from the Iranian coastline. But Gerald Ford, the most advanced, the biggest, most expensive aircraft carrier, is stationed in an Israeli port.
You see, this is a very interesting perspective it brought out, because it goes, both ways. When you are targeting a country like Israel, because Israel is a very small country, it can be targeted by a couple of missiles, and you can cause a lot of damage. Uh, Now, some of the missiles can also be targeted onto those military uh, 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 assets of the United States, because they are in close proximity and they are interfering with the trajectory of your missile. Because in case they have put an air shield there and the air defense interceptors are in place, and if the US has been firing those interceptors, then the location of that interceptor is also been recorded by Iran. So the next target is going to be the interceptor itself. And the interceptor is on that warship, or it is on that aircraft carrier. So it is on all the probability US is going to be led into this war, because the moment you target any US asset, that means that you initiated a war against the US. So I think it's very plausible to and logical to accept this kind of analysis, because Israel is not going to fight this war alone, let me tell you that. It is not going to be restricted to Israel only, and it will be not restricted to 10 to 12 days now. It is going to be much longer, and substantial damage is going to be caused all around. It will not be a one sided battle as we always thought so, because of the kind of firepower, comprehensive firepower which US brings into this battle. There'll be massive destruction in Iran, and especially IRGC structure. See, I am stressing this point again and again, because the stumbling block as far as Ayatollah Khomeini's removal in Iran is the leadership of the IRGC. So I think Mossad, CIA would have done their homework well to target all their bases and the leadership which is present in Iran as of now. And that is why Tehran has been targeted, because Tehran is the epicenter of the IRGC headquarters, and I'm sure they would have caused some damage to the IRGC assets there. Karthik.
Professor Swaran Singh, but I asked this question to General Kocher. Every military action has a political objective, sir. What is the political objective here? I don't. Last time they went after the nuclear installations, Fordo. But what is the objective? What will they achieve?
I think if you look at the kind of targeting they have done this time, whatever is available in media, the target has been the leadership this time, clearly. So there is some sense of whether they are thinking of this being a surgical operation in terms of decapitating the leadership and regime change. Because again, US Vice President has clearly said this is not going to be a prolonged long war. It is going to be just short war in that sense. They're advising their diplomats not to speak on this on their own. In that sense, this seems to be not something that is supposed to continue over a period of time, and therefore, as yet we don't know, no idea of the damage as of now we have, whether any serious damage has been done in terms of any leaders being hit by these strikes. And apparently, what United States is hinting here is that this is a kind of a short surgical strike, like they did during June last year in Fordo, for example. So apparently, they are not planning to see this as a long-term war, though they have also advised their non-essential staff, at least to begin with, in Israel, to leave the country and come back home.